All right, so welcome to the Open Atrium 2.0 webinar. This is our first webinar for Open Atrium 2.0 since our release for the world. So we're pretty excited that you're here. Thanks for attending today. We're going to talk about a few things today. We're going to talk a little bit about social collaboration software, what is it, and who the players in the space are, what is Open Atrium and who it's for, and then we'll talk through the architecture and structure of Open Atrium and see a demo and learn how to get started with it yourselves. So today we have myself, Karen Borchert. I'm the VP of Strategic Initiatives at Phase 2, and you can find me on Drupal.org or Twitter, and Mike Potter, who is our esteemed Open Atrium lead architect and an architect here at Phase 2, and he's on Drupal.org at mpotter, and you can reach him there as well. So we're just going to go ahead and jump right in and talk a little bit about what is social collaboration software and what's it all about. So it's the social collaboration software space is described as a dynamic, confusing, and converging market. There's a lot of things that go into social collaboration software. Features like social networking, discussions, microblogs, asset management, document management, project tracking, wikis, and all kinds of different elements of it. And there's a lot of questions that go on in this space. Should I go open source or commercial? Should I look at a software as a service version versus installed? How many licenses will I need? Do I want a full platform or a standalone product? And what do I do about asset management? What's a microblog? What do I do about security? So there's so many questions, so many needs that come up around social collaboration software. At the base, social collaboration software is here to help organize and help us organize and help us communicate at work. But as you can see, the market can be a really busy and really confusing place. At Phase 2, we've kind of looked at the market to understand it a little better, and we have sort of segmented it into a few different areas. Obviously, a lot of these companies and a lot of these products do more things than just the space that they are in, but we classify them a little bit just to kind of help us understand the space. So there's the document management and asset management space that is really about managing your assets and organizing them. So Alfresco and Office 365. Box and some of those. There are the portal products like Plone and LifeRay. There are intranet products like SharePoint and how you've probably seen Open Atrium 1.0 if you've seen that in the past. There's social collaboration tools like Jive and Commons and MindTouch, and wiki products like Twiki and Confluence and MediaWiki. Then you'll see microblog products like Yammer, if you use that in your workplace, or Salesforce Chatter, that are very much communication tools. And then team management tools like Basecamp and Huddle. Atrium also fits in there, and Thought Farmer. So you can kind of see, these are the big players or some of the players in the space around social collaboration software. And the features are almost as diverse as the players, right? So there's everything from discussions and events and calendaring to voting, polling, ideation, news and information, timekeeping and document management, notifications for people, identity management. Search is obviously an important feature, socialization and the ability to share information either internally or externally. Location-based features, and then really importantly, mobile as a really important emerging feature in this space. So when we look at the market and what we call the playing field for social collaboration space, we look at kind of two elements, and there are a lot of different ways to look at the space. Obviously, we look at it across these two lines. We look at things that have more of an asset focus, so that are really helping you organize your work, versus a communication focus, so really helping your teams to communicate and connect. And then on the other side, we look at platform solutions, so solutions that are going to do it all and provide a base for you to have lots of different collaboration tools that kind of plug into one area, versus purpose-built solutions. And those solutions are things that do one thing and do it really well, whether it's project management or microblogging or wikis or that kind of thing. So This is actually borrowed. This concept is borrowed a bit from some folks who've done some great work on social collaboration software. So you'll see obviously the big players in the market like SharePoint and Alfresco and Office and Basecamp, and then a lot of smaller players in the market. And this is certainly not comprehensive. These are the same organizations that you saw or the products that you saw in the slide above in the way that we organize it, and it helps us to understand a little bit more about the space. But as you can see, there's some really big organizations as well as some really small products here, and a lot of them are moving around in this space. So products that have been traditionally asset focused are moving more towards more communication features. And similarly, purpose-built solutions that have focused on one thing are sometimes moving towards more platform solutions where they can do more and be more of a kind of a one-shop stop. So why consider open source in this space? As we said, this is a pretty crowded market. It's a pretty confusing place to be. A lot of times organizations don't know, well, do I need more communication or more asset focus? Do I want a platform or do I want something purpose built? And open source gives you a lot of flexibility. So giving you a platform that you can extend and customize without fear of lock-in, and letting you build what you really need, lose what you really don't, and keep up with your organization's needs and changes to the collaboration software space. What we know and what we've learned in the process of working on Open Atrium for the past several years and on using these products internally at phase 2 is that there's really no way to know exactly which feature set you need right now and what you're going to need in a year or 2 years from now. So the ability to have an open source solution that gives you that flexibility and the ability to customize is a really big component. So that takes us to Open Atrium, and what is Open Atrium? So Open Atrium is a collaboration platform designed to help organizations manage their communications, teams, and knowledge. Open Atrium has some native features to support knowledge management, collaboration, and communication, which we'll show you in a few minutes. And then it's also built with a pluggable framework, so it can be extended to integrate with enterprise-level applications focusing on things like project tracking, like Jira, time tracking, like Harvest or @Task or OpenAir, wikis like Confluence, and asset management like Alfresco and SharePoint. So we really took the proudly invented elsewhere mentality with Atrium when we rebuilt on Open Atrium on Drupal 7 and built Open Atrium 2.0 to really emphasize the concept of a pluggable framework, so that rather than trying to reinvent the wheel and create a completely new tool for project tracking or time tracking or asset management, we wanted instead to build a framework where we and the community and the people using this could integrate with the things that they're already using and create this as an opportunity to have a platform that will extend to those. So some features that are native to Atrium 2.0. The first and foremost is security and access control. Security and access control in Atrium 2.0 is really unprecedented in most other Drupal-based distributions and products. We offer access control at the individual, team, and organizational level, and you'll see a lot of that access control in the demo coming up. You'll see discussions, both moderated, both public and private discussions are available right out of the box. Helpful knowledge management features, so file storage, collaboration, and access around those assets. The ability to create simple kind of multi-site or microsite implementations, which you'll also see in the demo, to the ability to potentially create spaces that are available for a department of a college or university or a component or one part of one organization is a really nice feature in Atrium 2.0. Mobile ready, Atrium is built with responsive themes and layouts, which Mike will talk a little bit more in depth about to help you understand exactly what it's built with and how it helps mobile. And then pluggable functionality to connect to enterprise level applications. So this is generally custom work right now, and but done as plugins. So these are our pluggable functionality. We don't have a host of plugins out of the box at Atrium 2.0 Alpha, but we do have some in the works, and we have a lot of organizations contributing and building plugins as well. And then the customizable layout makes it easy to make Atrium look exactly the way that you want and feel exactly the way you want. So what can Open Atrium be used to do? It can be used to manage projects and clients for a services company. So Phase 2 uses Open Atrium. Phase 2 is a services company and uses Atrium in-house to help manage our projects. You can use it to meet customers in a discussion forum. You could use it to build an intranet or manage knowledge with a wiki, or to engage and inform through a web portal, or to create an extranet for sharing access controlled information for business-to-business knowledge management. So who can use Open Atrium? Atrium is for organizations with teams, clients, or affiliates who need a common platform to communicate, collaborate, and manage knowledge. So an Open Atrium customer might have multiple chapters, affiliates, franchises, or brands. They might have global, regional, or local communication needs. They might have multiple offices, teams, or branches. They could have forums or networks of customers that they're looking to engage. Or they might have multiple campaigns, projects, news beats, or aid efforts. And they might have multiple project teams communicating with external clients. So to give you a better picture of that and what that might look like, we'll look at a couple of different examples. These are actually all built on different versions of Open Atrium, Open Atrium 1 and Open Atrium 2. This is the example of a nonprofit members portal. So this is built by our friends at Ad Nuvole. This is for the European Youth Forum. And you'll see a couple of different elements here. So you'll see some public information like press releases and issue watch that's available to the public. And then this members area for member discussions and social sharing elements to be able to share information out about this organization. So as you can see, this is this great, kind of combination of public and private information for a nonprofit and their members. This is another space. This is a way that you can use Open Atrium for collaboration for co-working. So this is built by the folks at Bucket Brigade for Bucket Works. This is a co-working space that has members who use physical space, but then need to collaborate about it and for it online. So you can see that they manage events and their own discussions. And then they have members-only information as well. And then this one is also on Open Atrium 1, but has a lot of the same features and elements of Open Atrium's current feature set. So collaboration, journalism, and learning labs. This is done by PBS NewsHour. So you can see that this is a tool for classrooms, teachers and their students to be involved in creating news for PBS NewsHour Extra and teaching students about the news. So they have this group level access where they have these labs for specific schools, and the students and the teachers can collaborate here and gather information and news, and then also submit it for potential inclusion on PBS NewsHour Extra. So you also see the resource management. They manage all of their curriculum here. And then they even have some public-facing news that the rest of the world can read. And this one is actually built on Open Atrium 2.0. This is the documentation and intranet area for the open public community and for another Drupal distribution. This was built by Phase 2, and there's some good features in here as well that you can start to see, and you'll see a bit more of in the demo. So you can see the member management around specific members for sites and for sections of the intranet. Really clear access control, so you know exactly who can see the things that you're looking at. Media assets and the ability to embed those media assets directly. And it's pure Drupal, so you can customize it really easily and add to it just like you could any other Drupal installation. And as you can see, the documentation allows this kind of wiki usability and wiki content to be able to be used to publish and produce all of the documentation for this product. So you can see the menu along the right-hand side and the content visibility there at the top. And for today's demo, we're going to look at colleges and universities. We think these are another great example of ways that Open Atrium's features can be used. So you'll see the concept of microsites for departments. So chemistry, earth system science, mathematics, and physics and astronomy are part of, each have their own little space that they can use as kind of a microsite. Public-facing information, as we've talked about. A student portal that allows students to connect and communicate, faculty resources, and the ability for faculty to communicate on the things that they're working on that is not necessarily open and public to students or to the rest of the world, and the ability to look at events for an organization. So I'm going to pass it over to Mike Potter, who's going to walk you through a little bit of what's under the covers with Open Atrium, and then he'll take you on a demo.
All right, thanks, Karen. Welcome, everybody. So let's start by talking a little bit about what you might already know about Atrium 1. Atrium 1, Open Atrium 1 was developed several years ago by Development Seed and then acquired by Phase 2 and used for some very large projects, including the White House. It was very project management focused. It was used for web portals and internets and university sites and churches and lots of different types of sites. However, it was based on Drupal 6, and as we know, Drupal 6 is reaching its end of life, so it became fairly antiquated in its feature set and its ability to be extended, and its plugin interface wasn't really up to modern standards. So, and it was very difficult to retheme. The theme and features were pretty locked down. You had, a single blog, a single notebook, a single event calendar, not a lot of flexibility there. So when we started looking at building Atrium 2 on Drupal 7, rather than just doing a direct port of modules from Drupal 6 to Drupal 7, we basically decided to start from scratch and build kind of the best of class collaboration tool in Drupal today using Drupal 7. So we started with building a framework. So this allows you to plug in various functionality that we'll see coming up. So rather than trying to have everything in the box like we did in Atrium 1, Atrium 2 is more open, but it also means that there's not as much out of the box. There's going to be functionality provided via these plugins. We also looked at access control and really data privacy, that when you're doing collaborations like discussions and knowledge bases, in Atrium 1, you had the distinction of just simple, it's all public or it's all private. And these days, when you're doing team collaborations and projects, you really want a lot more flexibility around that data privacy and around permissions. So we really focus strongly on that aspect. We also, as Karen mentioned, one of our mantras was proudly invented elsewhere. We don't want to reinvent the wheel. We don't have the time or resources to do everything. So we want to build on those tools that already exist out there in the community that are best of class. So for example, we're building Open Atrium 2 on the Panoply distribution. Panoply is from Pantheon. It's a distribution that is focused on improving the content editor experience in Drupal. So it has a very nice WYSIWYG. It's all based on panels, provides great ease of use for customizing your pages and your page layout. So rather than spending our time in Atrium, building another WYSIWYG, we just use the one from Panoply and focus our time on the Atrium specific features. On the theming side, we also tried very hard to split the functionality from the look and feel style. And in looking at this and trying to find a good responsive theme, we actually went outside of Drupal and adapted something called Bootstrap from Twitter, which is a CSS framework for building responsive mobile sites. We're using a theme in Drupal called Radix, which was built for Panoply that makes use of Bootstrap. This will make it a lot easier for people who are themers to build themes for Atrium without a lot of necessarily Drupal knowledge if they already know Bootstrap. So we did make an alpha release several weeks ago. It's out on the Drupal.org project page, and the URL is here. So that's the place to go to look for information and get the latest release information if you want to download it. We're in Alpha 4 right now. It's still very much alpha. There's multiple commits every single day. It's not intended for production sites. And I'm going to show you a demo of the alpha today, but just be aware that things can change. So let's talk a little bit about the terminology within Atrium, because the terminology has changed a little bit and it can be confusing at times if you haven't seen it before. But it's really important to understand some very base concepts that are used in the Atrium framework. So the first concept is if you look at your website content, which on the right-hand side I've tried to show this is kind of a hierarchy of pages where you have your home page at the top, and then under that you have various site-wide pages like your About page and your Contact Us page. And then within your site, you want to kind of collect your content together in different areas. And we call these areas and these collections spaces. So a space is just a collection of content that is related in some way. So for example, if you're building a newspaper site, you might have spaces for your different newspaper areas, such as sports or science or lifestyle news. If you're building a university site, your spaces might be the different departments in a university. If you're a services company, your spaces might be the different projects that you're working on. So they might also be microsites, kind of just, again, any collection of related content. And specifically, we're using a module called organic groups to manage this, which is why it gets confusing sometimes. We used to call these groups in Atrium 1, but we've changed the name to spaces for several reasons that I'll get to a little bit later. If you're used to using some other collaboration tools such as Confluence, we use Space for the same purpose that they do. And then within a space, you can collect content into a smaller collection called a section. So a section is just another small collection of content. This is really for access control purposes. What this lets you do in Atrium is create little private areas within your space without making the entire space private. And this is when we talked about access control and the expanded access control that we're providing here in Atrium. So instead of just having your entire space be public or private, which you can still do, you can create a public space that has some public-facing information and then create some private areas within that called sections. And the access controls for sections can be very diverse, as we'll see in our demo in a minute. So sections are used for access control and also for notifications. So now we are talking about collection of content. Let's look at collection of users. So all of the users on your site can be collected in various ways as well. So here I'm trying to show kind of all my users there on the right. That's like the entire public world, the entire intranet, or the entire internet, if you will. So those are all the people out there in the world that might be looking at your website. Within a space, you can add members. So users within a space are called members. They can have special permissions. So for example, the entire world might be able to view your space, but only members of your space might be able to add content or edit content. So membership is a way to control access permission. In addition to spaces, we actually do have things called groups, and this is why we changed the name of spaces. What a group is rather than being a collection of content, it's just a collection of users. It's a collection of users that can span across multiple spaces. So these are typically large collections of users. They might represent parts of your company or your entire company. They might represent people with a common role, such as project managers, or having a group of developers, where each space can then be assigned to that global group. So groups are used for access control and notifications. That's their main purpose. And we'll see again some examples in the upcoming demo of how we're going to use that on the university site for things like faculty and students being large groups of users. And then we have smaller collections of users called teams. Teams just exist within a single space. So when I'm within a space, I can only see my own space as teams. I can't see the teams in any other space. So there's something that as a space manager, I can just create an ad hoc collection of users. I don't have to be a site admin, which you need to do to create groups. I can just be my own space admin and create teams within my spaces. So you might use teams for specific projects or just kind of any ad hoc area, any ad hoc section where you want to control access. So let's look at an example. We're going to pop over to a demo now, and we're going to play with a university site that we've created in Atrium 2, where the spaces are used for the schools and departments. We've got groups being used for faculties and students. And then we have sections within each department for things like public information and faculty discussions. And then we have teams for like specific projects or workshops. So let me go into the website here. All right. So here's the home page. We've just customized this home page a little bit from the default. I want to take you through a variety of different areas. First is just how you do the customization, and this is more of with Panoply. So I'm not going to spend a great deal of time. There's other Panoply demos out there if you've never seen it before for more information. But on any page you can customize, you'll see these buttons along the top that say customize this page or change this layout. So this is my home page. It's completely customizable. I'm logged in as the site admin. If I click change layout, you can see several, I apologize, the GoToMeeting here is messing with my screen size. But you can see the variety of layouts provided. These, again, all come from Panoply. These are all responsive layouts out of the box. And you can just basically control what you want your regions to look like. So here we've got a layout with the sidebar on the right. We can easily just change that to a sidebar on the left by clicking this and saying save. And now you'll see our sidebar has moved over to the left-hand side of the page. When we click the customize this page, now we can see those two regions. We can see the sidebar and we can see the main content area. So these are the regions, very similar to theme regions if you're used to Drupal. So depending upon what layout I've selected, you might have different regions available. But now I can change the different, we call widgets within these regions. So for example, maybe I want my list of spaces to be above this create group button, so I can just drag it up there and we can save it. And you can see that we've now just updated the content. There's a large variety of widgets available in Atrium. If you click the plus side to add things, there's a bunch of kind of top level widgets for adding text. So we can, for example, say add text, and we can give this a title that says welcome. We can say welcome to the university site. And so that gets saved to our sidebar. And now when we save this, we have that text up there. So you can add that kind of static content via these different widgets such as text. You can add images, you can add Google Maps, tables, videos, menus, all sorts of different stuff. And then these things up here on the top are just kind of tabbed areas for more widgets. So Open Atrium, for example, provides this set of widgets, which is things like your user profile and your discussion topics and your recent news, what spaces you're involved in, lots and lots of different things. And this list will expand as you add new plugins to the site. So a great amount of functionality can be added to your site through this Panoply interface. So all the pages in Atrium share this same interface, and you'll see that as we go. So just be aware that what you're seeing is just the out-of-the-box defaults, and what you'd end up doing is customizing this for your specific site. Now the top and bottom of the site is also customizable. We have this footer at the bottom, which just has a logo in it right now. And then this toolbar across the top, you notice that it's kind of sticky to the top of the page as you scroll. These are both also customizable through the same interface. We're using mini panels if you're interested in the Drupal module. And here I've actually customized this. Atrium by itself out of the box comes with this stuff here on the left. I'm logged in as the site administrator, so this is my Drupal site admin menu. So most of your users aren't ever going to see this. That's just for Drupal. Then we've got your home icon that takes you to the home page. And then we've got your section or your space selector here. So these are the different spaces that we've created on this site. And then within a space, you've got the different sections available within that space. What I've added in addition to what comes out of the box default is the main menu of the site. So just like with Drupal, you can add items to your main menu and you can display that main menu as a toolbar. And here I've just used the menu to kind of collect my hierarchy of, these chemistry and physics spaces actually exist within the physical science space, just to show how you would support a hierarchy of spaces. And then you've got your standard search bar. You can search across all spaces just within a single space or across users. And then on the very right-hand side, you have what we call the user badge. It shows you that we're logged in as admin, and we can go to our dashboard, edit our profile, or log out. Every user has a dashboard, So when we go to a user's page, we see that user's activity. We can change settings for the user. We can look at what spaces they're in. And you'll notice that this page can be customized. So every user can customize their own dashboard to put various widgets here on the page. So let's go into one of our spaces. We've created a space here for the physics department of our university. And again, I'm logged in as admin, so you're going to see a lot of kind of Drupal-y things here that normal users aren't going to see. We're on, we've got development turned on, so we've got things like the develop module. So don't worry about that kind of stuff up there too much. But basically, for a space that we're viewing, what you get by default is a layout that shows you the activity that's happened within the space, the access and visibility of the space. This shows us that we're in a public area, tells us that we're actually the manager of this space, and it shows us the different sections that we've created within the space. So by default, if you just plug in or install Open Atrium out of the box, there are no spaces or sections created. You have to create that for the content of your site. So you'll create a space, and then within the space, you'll start creating these different sections for things like discussions and a notebook. So these sections, if you're used to Open Atrium 1, these kind of correspond to the old tabs along the top. So in the Atrium 1, you had the blog and the notebook and the event calendar. So in Atrium 2, you would just create those as sections. So if you add a new section by clicking Add Section, you can give it a name. So let's say we'll call this New Section. We can set the visibility of this section. This is where we talk about the access control of whether we want to make this section public or private. Let's just leave it private for now. There's also a default layout. Every space and section ships with several different layout templates. So right now we have a default template that shows us recent activity. We can make a discussion section and a news section. Let's just go ahead and make this a discussion section. And let's just go ahead and save this. So we'll publish it. And now if we go back to our physics department, you can see in the list of sections, we now have this new section listed here. So creating sections are really that easy. If you actually want these to be tabs across the top, this is where the Panoply kind of customization comes into play again. So you can customize this page. We can drag this section menu up here to the top. We can go to the Panoply style and say, let's make this a menu. And we can say next. And then we can make it tabs, or we can make it buttons or drop-down buttons, for example. So if we save this and then save as custom, you'll see we've now created a custom menu for our space. So we've now customized this space. It's not going to affect any other space. So if we go, for example, to the humanities space, you'll see the humanities space still has the default layout. So all we did was customize the physics space. So every space can have a different look and feel, a different kind of navigation. It's really up to you, because this is like a microsite. You want a microsite to be flexible in what it allows you to do. So in this case, I've created several sections already for us. We have kind of a public resource area called Research and Resources. And you'll notice it says the content visibility is public. So if I go and copy this URL, let's go to another window here. We're going to go to a logged out user. So as a logged out user, I can paste that URL back in, and we can go try to look at that research section. And you can see it's public, so we have full access to it. We can go click on the different links in here and see the different pieces of documentation that have been added to this wiki. This menu can support a hierarchy, so you can have sub-items within it. So just a full wiki functionality, and it's completely public. So then we have some private sections that we've created. So we'll go back here and go to our faculty discussion. So this is one of the sections within the physics group. So again, you see the space here and the sections within the space. And here we have a private section. So this is telling us that this section is private to only people in the faculty group. So if I try to go to this section over here in my anonymous logged out user, here we are, where is our anonymous user? So we'll paste in that URL. And we'll try to go to the faculty discussion. And it says access denied because we're not a member of the faculty. Let's go ahead and log in then, and we'll log in as a member of the faculty. We've got a user here called teacher. And when we log in as the teacher, and this is a physics professor, if we go back to this page that we had access tonight on, we'll refresh the page, and now you can see we're a faculty member, so now we do have access. If I click on, so now we're back as admin, if I click on this faculty link, it's actually going to take us to the group and show us who's there. So this shows us that the physics professor and English professor are currently members of our faculty. We can remove somebody from the faculty by just clicking the drop down and saying remove from group. And then now they lose access, and we can go over here on the right and add them back into the group. So the admin interface is very easy. You don't have to go through the standard organic groups UI, which is a fairly cumbersome UI for managing membership. So that was our private faculty group. It's a discussion. Let's go back to the page that we were on. Back to physics. To our faculty discussion. So we created this as a discussion type. Remember those templates I showed you? This is a discussion template. And so if I click on one of these discussions, you'll see the original post up here at the top. It was posted by the physics professor on May 14th. And now we can reply to this. So we can say, this sounds cool. I will volunteer. And we can go down here and say submit reply. And now you can see my reply. It automatically knows that this is a new reply, so it automatically expands it. We can expand and collapse these replies. So as you add new replies, or as I refresh this page, the next time I look at this discussion post, it actually collapses this because it knows I've already seen it. So it automatically expands new and updated replies. It collapses ones that you've seen. So that way, if you're in a discussion post with 30 different replies, they get collapsed. They don't take up a lot of space, and it focuses on the new information that you haven't seen before. We also have full multimedia support, so both within the WYSIWYG here, we can click the Insert Media button, and we can select a file to upload or from our existing library. We can also make those attachments. So let me just post an attachment here. I'm going to go to our existing library, and I'm just going to post one of our pictures that we've already got. So you can reuse content on your site without having to upload it multiple times. We'll submit that as a reply. Now you can see we've got reply number 2, and it shows us that we've attached this PNG image file. But in addition, on the right-hand side, we have this Documents and Media widget, which shows you all of the attachments across all of your replies. So if we made another reply here and attached another piece of content, like this article, submit that reply. What can happen when you have these long discussion threads is attachments can get lost. So now we have attachments in 2 different replies. We have reply number 2 and reply number 3. They each have an attachment. And if I've already seen those, they're going to be collapsed. But now over here on the right, it shows me a summary of all of the documents and media that are part of this discussion thread. We've got full Lightbox media supports. When you click on them, you get the full image, a little navigator to navigate back and forth. If these were video images, you'd be able to play the videos there and so on. So that's the kind of full, robust discussion functionality we have. We are not using the Drupal comment system here. The replies, as you saw, can have attachments. The replies actually have the full functionality of the main post. In fact, I can edit one of these replies, and I can change the parent of the reply down here under Access. So right now, we're a reply to this post. If I were to clear this out, that would actually elevate this reply to be a top-level post. So you can move posts around, you can move them between groups and sections, you can promote replies to be full topics, and so on. So a lot of functionality and flexibility that you would not get with the normal Drupal commenting system. It also makes us less likely to get spam. Only logged in users right now can create replies. You can still turn on the Drupal comment system. So if, for example, you wanted to allow replies within the section to only come from people that are members of that section like we're doing here, but then also allow public comments, you would go ahead and turn on the standard Drupal comment system and turn on a module such as the Discus or a Malum or some other kind of spam prevention service to handle your public comments. So that's what the discussions look like. We looked at the wikis a little bit, but let's go back to our sections. We've been here in the faculty discussion. We also made a student discussion section. Here we're just showing that you can have multiple groups. So in this case, we want the students to have their own discussion, but we don't want them to discuss things that the faculty can't see. So we also add the faculty to this group. So you can have multiple groups and multiple access control, and anybody that's in any of these groups would have access to the page. We've also created a little project page. So we've got this page or this section called Physics Competition. This is another private section within our physics space. But you can see now we've assigned a team access. And if I click on the team, you can see that the only people that are in this team right now is the admin and the student. So if I go back to my, let's go back to the project submission. If I copy and paste this URL over to my other window, where we're logged in right now as the physics professor. So we'll paste in, we'll let the physics professor is gonna try to go look at that project, and they can't get to the project because they don't have access. If we go to the physics homepage for the space, you can see that we don't see any access to that private space. We only see the research, the faculty, and the student, and the new one that I created. We don't see the new project submission. But obviously we want the professor to be part of this project. So let's go back over here as our admin, and we'll go to the project team, and let's add our physics professor to the team. And so now the professor's in the team. So if we go back over to our professor's logged in user and refresh the page, now we see in our navigation, we see the physics competition, and we click on it, and now we're a member of this space. So teams are this, again, a private area. It's only within your project. So when I'm in that, if I'm editing this team, I can only add people to the team that are within my physics space. I can't add people from other spaces across the site. So it's just a very space-specific area. And now you can see an example of the real flexibility of sections. Again, in Atrium 1, your sections, you had a single blog and a single notebook and a single event calendar for each of your groups. Or spaces here in Atrium 2. What I've created here is a section where we've got a mix. We've got a discussion topic going down here. So we've got a project schedule, and this is one of our project discussions. And the physics professor doesn't have write access, so let's go back over to our admin area here. So again, if I click on the discussion thread, you can see that I can reply to it here. But in addition to the normal discussion thread topics, we've also got a wiki menu. So this is kind of a combined wiki and discussion space, or a section. So for example, we can go look at our documentation for our project. We've got, the design diagrams, attachments here that I showed before with 2 attachments. We've got, an area for technical specs, projects. If I go to videos, you can see both the example of having an embedded video as well as an attached video, which just shows up as that media that I mentioned that you can click on and play. So this is a combination kind of hybrid section that allows us to have both blogs and discussions in one area and to control that access to the project team so that it's a very private area that only that team can see. So that's the access control. The other thing that we use groups and projects for are notifications. So if I edit this project, this little physics competition, you can see that I've got these notification settings. And right now I've got project team set in my notification. What this means is that any content that's posted to this section, like a new wiki document or a new discussion, it's automatically going to email everybody in my project team to tell them that there's new content. This is a really powerful feature. We call this push notifications, where as the content creator, you're allowed to push notifications out to people that you think are interested or that you want to know about what you're doing. When you choose groups, for example, I might say I want the faculty to be notified. It's not going to notify the entire faculty. It's only going to notify the faculty that are members of our space. So in this case, it's only going to notify the faculty that's a member of the physics space that we're in. But it allows us to just set this as a generic faculty. So for example, if somebody leaves your faculty, you would remove them from that faculty group. They would no longer get notifications for this. You don't have to go into each project space that they're a member of and manually remove them like you would if you made them a user. Now you can still add individual users. This is like Atrium 1 where we had all the checkboxes at the bottom. So you can still add individual user notifications. But adding notifications to groups and teams lets you do that in kind of one fatal swoop without listing everyone over and over again. So we also, in addition to that kind of push notification, we have pull notification. And pull notification is where you want someone to subscribe to content or follow content. So in addition to the push notifications, you can click the subscribe button. And now it's going to automatically notify you whenever this particular page is updated. So this is a case where someone didn't add you to the notification list, but you can basically go add yourself if you have permission for that. So it's like following something in Facebook. You can follow this topic. So those are notifications. The notifications are actually beyond just simple emails. If you if you get a notification that somebody replied to a particular discussion topic, for example, in your email, you can actually reply to that, and that will get posted back to the discussion. So for example, in this faculty discussion, in one of these replies, if I replied to that in my email, my reply would actually get posted back to Atrium. You have to set that up. You have to have a kind of an email box that is set up for those notifications, but it's set up to work with things like Gmail and any other mail service you might have. So that's, I think, the basics of what I wanted to cover in the demo, and I think we're running a little long here, but let me switch back over to our slides. And I'll talk very briefly about this last topic. Let's play these, which is what about Atrium 1? So we get this question a lot. If you're already an Atrium 1 user and you're really excited about what you see today, which we hope you are, you want to go out and get Atrium 2. The problem is Atrium 1 was in Drupal 6 and Atrium 2 is in Drupal 7. And unfortunately, there's no easy way to magically upgrade sites between major Drupal versions. There's some tools out there to help you migrate your data. They're like the migrate module, and we're going to provide some help for that with some of our things like the discussion plugin and our wiki, so that you can migrate some of your old data. But it's not going to migrate your old custom modules from Drupal 6. It's not going to migrate some of your, if you have any customized layouts and those kinds of things. So you're really looking at more of a custom site upgrade, just like with any other Drupal site. We're currently working on the event plugin, which was part of Atrium 1, so we will have an event plugin for Atrium 2. The other big functionality that was in Atrium 1 was the case tracker for issue tracking. We decided not to build a new issue tracker on Atrium 2 because there's a lot of already existing modules out there to do that. And we've actually already had community contribution. If you go to the Open Atrium project page, you'll see a work tracker plugin already written for Atrium 2 to handle this. We're also not doing Shoutbox. Again, you can go integrate this with your, whatever your favorite chat module might be. And we do have documentation, pretty extensive documentation out on that site for developers to teach developers how to write plugins. So I will turn this back over to Karen now on how you get started.
So, like Mike said, we hope you're excited by what you see and interested. It's important to note that Atrium is definitely in alpha release still. It is not 100% ready to go out and build your site today, unless you're a experienced Drupal developer ready to work with it. But we are working towards more stable release. So you'll see a few things coming up at DrupalCon Portland. If you're going to be there next week, there's a live demo on Tuesday the 21st at 9 a.m. to kick off your DrupalCon experience right. So you can join Mike and see Open Atrium and get your questions answered there. We'd love to see you at happy hour at DrupalCon. Each day at DrupalCon, we have demos of Atrium at 4 o'clock and beverages at 5 at the Phase 2 booth. And finally, if you are a developer or interested in developing plugins for Atrium, hope you'll come hack with us. We have a hackathon on Friday, the 24th at the Doubletree Hotel, and you can join Mike and the Atrium team to learn how to create plugins and use Atrium and extend it for your organization. We will very soon in the next couple of days be set up for you to go to getpantheon.com if you'd like to take it for a spin and see what Open Atrium, play with it a little bit yourself, create some spaces and sections. You can try it for free on Pantheon, and you can do that at getpantheon.com. We'll send out a notification to everyone to let you know when that's available, and that is a really nice, free, fast way to spin up an Atrium site and give it a try and see if it might work for your organization. And finally, please, would invite you to connect with us via email in the Open Atrium channel on IRC or via Twitter. Would love to hear your questions and help get them answered and help you see if Atrium is right for your organization too. So that's our presentation today. I'm going to go ahead and come back out and see if there are any questions in the GoToMeeting queue. And if you have questions, you're welcome to. I know we're right at the end of our hour, so if you have to get going, we certainly understand. But we can also try to take a couple of questions here as we go. So first question comes from Dean McCauley. Would you not see OA2 as a replacement for some of these enterprise level applications? It's a great question. I would, depending on your needs, depending on what level of enterprise level applications, Open Atrium 2 certainly has the opportunity to be a great replacement for some of these things. It's really a matter of what features you need out of the box versus custom, and what things would be, what are the opportunities that you have to develop those things. So as you could see from the demo, Open Atrium 2 does not do every single thing that some of the biggest platform applications do, but certainly has the capacity and the capability to integrate with some of those things and to do some of those things. So it's not necessarily an and or question, but it could be a replacement if needed. And we'll go to the next one from Michael O'Brien. Is it possible for OA2 to import groups or team data from external sources?
Yeah, good question, Michael. Right now in the alpha, the answer would be no, but we're actually working on some integration with LDAP specifically as our starting point for that. And we'll be contributing that back to the community. So if you're not using LDAP, you might be able to use that as an example for whatever other kind of user provisioning tool you have. But with LDAP, it will bring in both users and groups into Atrium 2.
Great. And third, when will Atrium 2 be ready for production sites and intranets?
That's from Alessandro. So right now we're in Alpha 4. I expect us to be beta sometime within the next early part of the summer. A lot of it really depends on the community. Right now we are getting community members posting patches and bug fixes and those kinds of things. The more people we have working on it, the better. We've only got a few people here at Phase 2 on the team, so we definitely welcome the help. I hate to use the standard cliche of it'll be ready when it's ready, but that's kind of the case. I'm not going to release it before it's ready just to get a release. We really want it to be stable and useful for people.
And the next, these are great questions, everybody. Also from Alessandro, can customization be deactivated or restricted for specific users or groups?
Yes. So I didn't go into the permission system, but for every group, you can customize the permissions. You can either inherit the default site permissions, or you can override that on a space-by-space basis. And then as the space owner, you can decide what members of your space are allowed to do. So you might restrict it so that members can't do anything. You might allow members to create content. You might allow members to actually customize the layout of the space, which is typically reserved for the site or the space admin. From a global point of view, all of those widgets that you place on the page can be locked, and you can control those global permissions as well. So for example, not everybody can just modify your homepage layout. You have to have a special site permission for that. Space owners typically can only modify their own spaces.
Great. And the next one is, excuse me, how will OA2 handle multiple languages? Say English and French, but where content will be somewhat different?
Sure. Really great question, Alessandro. So we're not going to be shipping with internationalization or multilingual out of the box because we're trying to keep Open Atrium 2 to be a fairly lean distribution. But we are trying to make sure that it works with the standard Drupal internationalization modules. So there's the I18N, however you normally pronounce that, suite of modules out there in Drupal. We've got some users that are in other countries that are going to be testing that with Atrium and helping us fix any bugs or problems. So it's really, the answer to that is the same as the answer for Drupal. There are modules for that, and yes, you can definitely set up a site that has multiple versions of a page in different languages, where you have a language selector in your top toolbar and can switch between those languages.
And finally, the last question here, I think, oh, nope, second to last one, is do you anticipate releasing a beta after Portland? Is that realistic?
Yes, the beta will be released after Portland. I think that's very realistic.
Yes.
I think maybe Tim was asking about before Portland, which of course is next week. So no, we're still in alpha for Portland. Um, Honestly, I know originally to the community when we were talking about this several months ago, we were talking about beta for Portland. We actually kind of improved our release criteria here. What you're seeing as an alpha is what a lot of people would consider beta. It's pretty far along for alpha, so it is in kind of that gray area between alpha and beta. And certainly, like I say, early summer is I think when you'll see the first beta.
Great. And last question is there still an issue tracker in OA2?
Yeah, this is from Dean. And I touched on that at the very end there, that when I was talking about the different functionality that with Atrium 1 versus Atrium 2, that no, there isn't. There is not going to be an issue tracker as part of the core OA2. That's a community provided plugin, and there already is one in alpha. If you go to the Drupal.org Open Atrium project page, you'll see a link to a project from David Snopek called the Work Tracker for Atrium 2. So Work Tracker is the first attempt at an issue tracker. Several people are working on this. You'll probably also see the people in charge of the Case Tracker module doing something for Atrium 2. You'll probably see some integrations with some third-party issue tracking systems out there. Again, we didn't want to spend our time in Atrium trying to write the best-in-class issue tracker. There's lots of really good issue tracking systems out there, and we want Atrium 2 to integrate those into your project space, but not necessarily replace those.
Great. A couple more questions. So Kieran asked the directory or ability to create something similar included out of the box or no? File directory.
File directory. Yeah, there wasn't anything out of the box in Atrium 1 for that. So that you may be talking about a third-party Atrium plugin, because I don't actually recognize Quick Queue. But what you did see in the demo already is full support for local media, where we were embedding those images and embedding documents and so on and so forth. So when you go to the media browser in Atrium 2, you can browse your directory and things that you've already uploaded. And I should mention that's a lead-in to something I didn't mention during the demo. Atrium uses the fully private file system in Drupal, which is something a lot of distributions don't do. There were actually quite a few bugs in Drupal and Media Module that we helped fix to get that working. So right now, when you actually upload a file as an attachment to like a discussion or a wiki, if that's in a private area, that attached file is also now private, and you cannot go to that through an external URL in any way. You have to be a member of that section to be able to access that. So fully private file directory support is kind of in there out of the box. But if you're looking for more of a file or document management system, again, that's something we're looking for in plugins to either integrate with the local file system. I think you'll see from people like Nuvole, you'll see a plugin for the local file system. You'll probably see plugins in the future for things like Alfresco and big document management systems as well.
Great. Okay, well, that looks like it's it for today's questions. Thank you so much for everybody who is attending. We will also provide a recorded version of the webinar as long as the recording worked well today. We've had some challenges with that in the past, but thank you so much for attending, and we hope to hear from you or see you again soon. And please let us know if there's any questions that we can answer as well.
Come say hi at DrupalCon.
Yes, please come say hi at DrupalCon. So thanks so much. Have a great night.